Well, these are very unusual times, and much as we are all trying to keep it together, we are all coping with uncertainty, and that can be stressful. But you're the boss. You have to show you're in control, even though this is something that you have very little control over. So how do you manage stress and help your team to manage it too? Well, Michael Fingland from Vantage Performance has a simple 3-point plan to see you through. I'm Phil Dobbie, and we'll look at that today on the Vantage Performance Podcast. So, Michael, I mean, if you're the head of a company, you're the CEO. I mean, people are always looking to you for the next step. Obviously, that's why you are the leader. But in times like this, I guess even more so. But I mean, you would be feeling the stress like everybody else. I just wonder how you manage to get through it with because we've all got questions about where we're heading in this whole thing. If you're the CEO, you've got to keep that calm head. Not always that easy, though, is it?
No, it's not, Phil, and good morning. Yeah, I thought it'd be useful to just do a quick podcast on mental health, if you like, and how critical it is in any situation, whether you're in high growth or turnaround. And obviously the bulk of the work we do is in helping businesses turn around. So we're surrounded by stressful situations all the time. So I've learned a lot of techniques over the years, which I'd like to share. But as you say, right now, the entire workforce is looking to the CEO, the senior leadership team, to remain calm, look for, to provide that direction and comfort, even though there are job losses happening or whatever, but, they're still looking for you to be showing that strong leadership. And now more than ever, it's so critical for that leadership team to do whatever it needs, do whatever it takes to keep a calm head, think strategically. And, stress is a really curious beast. It can really creep up on you, and you don't know it's actually impacting you until it sort of hits you with a sledgehammer. And it's happened to me plenty of times over the years. So it's just a really important time to stop and think about what should I be doing, because the stress levels are off the scale. And as I said, you don't often notice it until you do.
And I guess it's all about keeping that clear head, isn't it? Because, I mean, to be strong and decisive, you've got to stay sharp, haven't you? So even though you may not know the answers, if someone's saying, well, where do we go from here? And you're not entirely sure, a bad answer would be, well, I don't know. You need to. Then everyone gives up hope when your CEO says that. You've got to be there saying, well, okay, it depends on what happens, but it could be one of several things. You need sort of like to show that you've thought about it, you've thought through it, and so everyone's got confidence that the person at the top of the organisation is going to guide them through it, okay, and then that gives them confidence, so they feel less stressed.
And even if you don't know, you've got to demonstrate that you do, right? Or, fake it till you make it. But they do. They need that sense of reassurance that there is a way through this, and that you're doing everything you can to steer the ship through. And one of the key things, as humans, we're very reliant upon routines. And given that three-quarters of the workforce or more, we're all working from home, it's important more than ever to keep up your normal routines. Get up at 5 o'clock every morning, as you might normally do, or 6 o'clock, but get up early, because the morning is the best time to think strategically. The brain gets tired after midday, so do all of your critical thinking in the mornings, and that's a routine that we've always had. Advantage, do all your strategic thinking, your big negotiations, big bank presentations, whatever it might be. Do all those in the morning because your brain's fresher. So keep those routines up. Get up early. You've got to keep up, even if it's you have your coffee, you meditate, or you go for a run. Whatever it is, you've got to keep up those routines, because otherwise, it'll start impacting on your day. So even though you're working from home, you've got to keep up those routines.
But it might be a different routine, of course, because, you're not having to commute to work, for example. But I guess you could always go for a run around the block.
So you've got more time.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got more time to think about the business. That's the way I look at it. Maybe we can be a bit more productive now because you're not losing an hour or 2 hours a day commuting. So use that time to listen to an audiobook, call each staff member, or see how they're doing. And that's one of the key things in this. Not really. This podcast is about this topic, but communication, which we'll come on to in a later piece. But you've got to up the communication as a leadership team. You've got to be talking to your team every day, every week. Just that reassurance. That's you can't underestimate the power of that.
Well, look, and you are a man who loves his 3-point plans. Look, if it's a 4-point plan, then there's something there that's just supplementary and not needed. And if it's a 2-point plan, it's just not. You haven't thought it through enough.
It doesn't work.
So you've got a 3-point plan for stress management, and they are very straightforward things. But before we quickly go through those, I would say this: if you've got a lot of people around you who are stressed, it's very easy for you to take on the stress yourself. And as you say, it can creep up on you. So I guess you've got to watch yourself closely, haven't you?
That's right. And there are markers, and a good husband or wife will be that marker for you, no doubt. But I think that's. I mean, it's so critical. And stress is, as I said, it's an unusual beast. People in high stress, and we've done a lot of research over the years around stress management, particularly because we're dealing with directors in distress all the time, whether it's high growth or turnaround. And it does some very unusual things to your physiology, your chemistry. So people in high stress become less empathetic. It's incredibly the link is very real. You become less empathetic,
and that's exactly what you want. You want them to be more empathetic. That's what That's what we're talking about. You've got to be more empathetic to your staff because you've got to guide them through it all. Let's look at these 3 points then. So they're pretty straightforward. Eat healthy, exercise, and look after your mental health.
That's right. So more so than ever, and I'm not going to, I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist, but although my wife is, the eat healthy is back to routines, right? Whatever your normal routine is, you got to keep that up, and obviously keep up, fruit, veggies, all the rest of it. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. I really want to talk about mental health today, but exercise as well. Again, routines. If you go for a daily run, you've got to keep that up. Just keep up those. That's a good stress management tool on its own, but make sure you're eating healthy, exercising, and then we'll come on to mental health, which is where I want to sort of share some thoughts.
Yeah, okay, and we'll do that. But on the exercise one, this is a good opportunity, isn't it? If you've got an extra hour in the day, you've got an extra hour, and maybe you didn't exercise a bit, maybe you put on a bit of weight. This is an opportunity. If we're going to be stuck, and who knows how long we're going to be in this scenario for, but it's an opportunity to take on a goal. I'm repainting the whole bloody house, basically, during this lockdown, which is giving me lots of exercise.
We've all got our lists.
We've all got our lists.
We've all got extra lists at the moment.
It keeps your mind occupied.
More than normal.
Gives you a goal. So on top of what you're normally doing, you've got something that, at least at the end of it, you've got something to show for. So if you come out fitter, then that's a great thing. And I guess that sort of does relate, because exercise and mental health are very linked, I'm sure.
Well, we're big advocates for walking meetings. We're fortunate with where our offices are, where we're near parks, so in the city. But so now, I mean, even if you're not someone who goes for a run, but you like walking, well, walk around the block while you've got important phone calls to make. I mean, do walking meetings. It's just a great way of getting some exercise by default, but you're still productive with
well,
work.
In these days of social distancing, you might be a bit harder. So listen to podcasts, obviously. Yeah, I'm always going to say that, aren't I? But what about other ways of managing your mental health then? Yeah,
so perhaps I might share a bit of my routine. I mean, as I said, we've been researching and practicing a lot of stress management techniques over the years as a way to sort of, to help us manage our stress load, because we're always working with clients in stress. So we've got to, as you said before, you do take on a lot of client stress, and you've got to, it's a skill. You have to learn how to manage that, but also to make sure you keep fresh and so you can think strategically, because we have to come up with big ideas every day to try and help steer companies through their crisis. So if you're not remaining calm and thinking strategically, you can't perform for your clients. So some very simple things. I mean, I'm a huge advocate for different breathing techniques, box breathing, Wim Hof breathing. I'm a big advocate of the Wim Hof method, which is a certain type of breathing technique, which is very similar to meditation.
Right.
And
so what's that, like big, long, deep breaths?
Yeah, there's and
you're going to do it for me now?
Some links in the show notes. Yeah.
Right, but I want to hear you doing what is it again? Sorry.
Well, maybe I'll do a video podcast on that another time. But box breathing, we suggest this to a lot of our CEOs. It is such a really simple, easy tool. If you look on any, on iTunes or whatever, you'll find, if you type in box breathing or I Breathe, they're the two apps that are really good. So there's different methods. So it could be box breathing is very simple, and the Navy SEALs do it, which is really cool. But they do it before they go into battle or into a major exercise. So you just breathe in for say 6-7 seconds, hold it for 6 or 7 seconds, breathe out for 6 or 7 seconds, and then hold it again with an empty breath. It's really that simple. And you do that for about 5 minutes, and you build up to sort of 10 seconds on each side. But your heart rate, if you've got a heart rate monitor, you can watch that. It just drops straight away. So doing that when you wake up in the morning before you go to bed, box breathing is so simple. It's easy. It's free. And as I said, the Navy SEALs do it. So you can be a bit like them. But there's other variations to that, sort of in and then out for 15 seconds. It's all about getting your breath down below 4 breaths a minute. If you can get your breath down to 4 breaths a minute, then that's when the parasympathetic nervous system kicks in and your heart rate drops, in a big way. And it's akin to the same impact as meditation. And there's intermediate or entry level sort of techniques like that, which a lot of our CEOs love when they get introduced to it, because you can do it before a big meeting, just to help manage your stress.
Right.
And even if meditation's not your thing, I mean, I'm a big advocate of meditation. I do that, but meditation's not for everybody. But there's other techniques, and what we're as big advocates for is, I don't care what you do, but you've got to do one of the following things in addition to exercise and nutrition, and that is either meditation, some sort of breathing technique, yoga, Pilates, any of those sort of, one of those things will be your go-to, but you've got to build that into your daily routine,
because it's taking you away from everything for a moment. You're giving yourself a break. Is that the idea behind it?
It is, and it's even more important in this day and age. Forget about coronavirus. I mean, 24/7, smartphones. We're connected permanently. So just taking that 5, 10, 15 minutes out of the day just to calm your mind, it's invaluable.
Yeah, rather than yelling at the top of your voice, it's all got to stop. Just make it stop is what you're saying, isn't it? Just give you the time.
Yeah, and that's why even going for a walk in the park, right? We're still allowed out at this stage to go for a walk around the block. So even that, with no phone calls, unless you're doing a walking meeting, just take that 5, 10, 20 minutes out of the day. And as you say, we've got more time up our sleeves now because we're not traveling as much. Just start building some of these, mental strategy techniques into your day, because I can guarantee you, I mean, it was transformational for me when I started doing this religiously sort of 5 years ago or more. Meditation, breathing, other sort of techniques like that. As I said, it's not one size fits all. Just choose something from that list, and I'm happy to put it in the show notes. But routines and some of those techniques, because you do think more strategically, you'll come up with new ideas. We've all experienced it, where you're in the shower, you're walking through a park or going for a hike, and then an idea just comes. That's because your mind has calmed. It's the brainwaves have dropped down to that theta state from beta and alpha, and that's when ideas come to you, and we're lateral ideas, because your brain is thinking laterally once those brain waves have dropped. And that's what all these techniques do, whether it's breathing, meditation, yoga, Pilates, whatever. It all drops your brain waves down to that theta state, where certain parts of the brain switch off, and strategic thinking, that part of the brain switches on or becomes more amplified. And that's why it's so critical. Yes, it keeps your stress levels down so you don't get sick. And that's the other big thing here is, what we're going through now is like any big project that we've all experienced, where you run on adrenaline for weeks or a few months, and then when the project stops or the workload stops, you get sick because what happens is that adrenaline and cortisol that's pumping through your veins when you're in that go mode, it suppresses your immune system. Okay, it deliberately suppresses your immune system. That's what cortisol and adrenaline does. So as soon as you stop and that stops pumping, guess what? You then get sick. So really important to keep it up during this time.
All makes a lot of sense. And how do you pace yourself through all of this? I guess because we don't know how long we're going to be in this situation for. We don't know whether it's going to be a matter of weeks or months, do we? So, and that
routine.
The routine is the answer, isn't it? And I guess you have to just tell yourself,
got to keep up the routine,
and don't worry about how long it's going to go on for. Just keep going day to day and following that 3-point plan.
Sounds simple, but it does take commitment, and got to keep yourself accountable. But as you said before, there's a lot of time that we've got in our day now because we're not traveling. So utilize that, be productive, whether it's more exercise, as you said before, learning a new technique like this, or just catching up on, audio books and reading books and podcasts and use this as a learning time as much as it is stressful for everybody, even those that are still in a job. use this time to do a lot more learning.
Okay, I'm off for some deep breathing. I'm very disappointed that you weren't able to demonstrate for us, but we'll catch you again very soon. Thanks, Michael.
Cheers, Phil.
We've all got to find our own way, haven't we? I love cycling. I do my deep breathing up the hills. That's my secret. I'm sure you've got your own as well. If you haven't, now's the time to find it. That's it for the Vantage Performance Podcast this time. We'll catch you again very soon. Thanks for listening.